Right now, as you sit there watching this, you feel solid. Your hands, your bones, the chair beneath you. All of it feels real, tangible, undeniably there. But here is the truth that physics has proven beyond any doubt. You are almost entirely made of nothing. 99.9999% of you is empty space. Not mostly, not roughly. Virtually all of you is a void. And if you removed all the empty space from every single atom inside every single human being on Earth, all 8 billion of us, the entire human race, would fit inside a single sugar cube. That is not a metaphor. That is not an exaggeration. That is atomic physics. But here is the part that will keep you up tonight, and I will get to it near the end. If we are almost entirely nothing, then what exactly is holding you together right now? What stops your hand from passing straight through the table? The answer is far stranger than you expect, and it has nothing to do with solid matter. Empty space inside you. In the next few minutes, you are going to discover why reality is not at all what it seems, why touching something is actually an illusion, and why the emptiness inside you might be the most powerful force in the universe. Let us start with the basics, because even the basics will blow your mind. Everything you see, everything you touch, everything you are is made of atoms. You already knew that. But here is what most people never truly grasp. An atom is almost entirely empty space. If you could blow up the nucleus of a hydrogen atom to the size of a basketball and place it at the center of a football field, the electron orbiting it would be somewhere in the parking lot. The atom is a tiny solar system with a vast emptiness between its parts. Everything between that basketball-sized nucleus and that distant electron. Nothing. Absolute void. No matter, no energy, no substance, just emptiness. And this is not some rare, exotic atom. This is every atom. The atoms in your bones, your blood, your brain, they are all structured the same way. Vast deserts of nothingness with a tiny speck of matter at the center. The solid world you experience is built on foundations of emptiness. The nucleus, that tiny core where almost all the mass lives, makes up roughly 1/trillionth of the atom's total volume. Think about that number, 1/trillionth. If the atom were a cathedral, the nucleus would be a fly buzzing somewhere near the altar. And the rest, pure, echoing emptiness. But if atoms are mostly nothing, what happens when you zoom out to something bigger like, say, you? Now here is where it gets personal. Your body contains approximately 7 octillion atoms. That is a 7 followed by 27 zeros. A number so large your brain literally cannot comprehend it. But every single one of those atoms follows the same rule. Almost entirely empty. When physicists calculate how much actual matter exists inside you, the solid stuff, the protons, neutrons, and electrons, the result is humbling. Nothing. Well, almost nothing. If you could somehow strip away all the empty space from every atom in your body and compress only the actual matter together, you would be smaller than a grain of sand. Not a marble, not a pea, a grain of sand. You, with all your memories, your personality, your entire physical existence, reduced to something you could lose between the threads of your carpet. Grain of sand. Now multiply that across every human who has ever lived. If you love learning things that nobody else knows, hit like and subscribe, because the next facts are even crazier. Seriously, you are not ready for what comes next. Every person who has ever been born, every king, every peasant, every genius, every fool, roughly 117 billion humans across all of history. Compress them all. They would fit comfortably inside a sugar cube. The entirety of human civilization, every handshake, every war, every kiss, every heartbreak, all of it carried out by beings who are almost entirely made of nothing. But this next one is the one that kept me up at night. If you are 99.9999% empty space, and the table in front of you is also 99.9999% empty space, then why can you not push your hands straight through it? You should be able to, right? 2 clouds of emptiness meeting should just pass through each other like 2 ghosts walking through walls. But that is not what happens. You press your hand on the table and it feels solid. Undeniably, unquestionably solid. What we perceive as solid matter is actually the interplay of invisible forces. The answer is one of the most beautiful tricks in all of physics. When your hand approaches the table, the electron clouds surrounding the atoms in your skin begin to interact with the electron clouds in the wood. These electrons carry a negative charge, and negative charges repel each other. You have never actually touched anything in your entire life. Not once. Not ever. Every hug you have given, every hand you have held, every surface you have felt, there was always a tiny gap between you and the object. An infinitesimal space where electromagnetic repulsion kept the atoms from ever truly meeting. You did not feel the table. You felt the force field pushing you away from it. The feeling of touch is an electromagnetic illusion your brain interprets as contact. So what happens when you zoom out even further? Now forget everything you thought you knew about density, because this is where physics shows you what happens when empty space disappears. A neutron star is what remains after a massive star collapses. When the star dies, gravity crushes the atoms so violently that the electrons are forced into the protons, creating nothing but neutrons packed together with no empty space between them. Zero empty space. The result is almost incomprehensible. A single teaspoon of neutron star material would weigh about 6 billion tons. Let me say that again. 1 teaspoon. 6 billion tons. That is roughly the weight of every car, truck, and vehicle on planet Earth combined, squeezed into something you could balance on a spoon. This is what matter looks like without the void. This is what you would look like if the empty space were removed. All the mass is still there. All the matter is still present. But without the vast emptiness between those subatomic particles, everything compresses into something almost infinitely dense. The neutron star is proof that the empty space in your atoms is not just a quirk of physics. It is the reason you exist at the size you do. Without that emptiness, you would be a microscopic speck with the gravitational pull of a small planet. The void inside you is not absence. It is architecture, and the neutron star proves it. But the implications get even stranger from here. Stop and think about this for a second. If 99.9999% of you is empty space, then what is that empty space? Is it truly nothing? For centuries, scientists assumed it was. They called it a vacuum, a void, an absence of everything. But in the 20th century, quantum mechanics shattered that assumption into a million pieces. The emptiness inside you is not empty at all. According to quantum field theory, what we call empty space is actually a seething ocean of energy. Virtual particles are constantly popping into existence and vanishing again, appearing and disappearing billions of times per second in every cubic centimeter of supposedly empty space. The vacuum is not really empty. It is a bubbling sea of virtual particles. This phenomenon is called vacuum fluctuation, and it has been experimentally confirmed through what is known as the Casimir effect. When two metal plates are placed extremely close together in a vacuum, they are pushed toward each other by a measurable force. Something in the empty space between them is exerting pressure. The nothing is doing something. The emptiness inside, every atom is alive with invisible energy. Some physicists estimate that the energy contained in just 1 cubic centimeter of empty space could be greater than all the matter in the observable universe. The void inside you might be the most powerful thing in existence, and this changes everything about how we understand matter itself. Here is where the story takes a dark turn. If gravity is constantly pulling your atoms closer together, and your atoms are mostly empty space anyway, why does your body not simply collapse in on itself like a dying star? Why does the emptiness persist? The answer involves one of the strangest principles in all of physics. It is called the Pauli exclusion principle, named after physicist Wolfgang Pauli, and it says that no two electrons can occupy the exact same quantum state at the same time. Cannot occupy same state. This means electrons refuse to be compressed into the same space. They push back, violently. This quantum mechanical resistance is what prevents your atoms from collapsing, what prevents the chair you sit in from compressing into a point, what keeps the floor beneath you rigid and supportive. A quantum law written into the fabric of reality keeps you from collapsing into nothing. Without the Pauli exclusion principle, every atom in the universe would implode. Stars would collapse instantly. Planets would crumble. Your body would compress into that grain of sand we talked about earlier. The only thing standing between you and total atomic collapse is a rule of quantum mechanics that electrons follow without exception. Quantum stubbornness. Electrons refuse to share, and their refusal is quite literally the reason matter exists at all. But wait, if all of this is true, then what does that say about the solid reality you experience every day? If you thought that was disturbing, you are not ready for this. Everything you have ever experienced as solid, physical reality is, from a physics perspective, a mirage. Your brain constructs a world of solid objects, firm surfaces, and tangible things because it needs to. Evolution did not build your brain to perceive quantum reality. It built your brain to survive. Reality is merely an illusion, albeit a very persistent one. So your brain takes the electromagnetic interactions between electron clouds, interactions that happen across gaps of empty space, and it translates them into the sensation of touch. It takes photons bouncing off electron clouds and translates them into color, shape, form. Your brain builds a solid world from forces playing across the void. You have never seen a physical object. You have only ever seen light reflecting off electron fields. You have never felt a surface. You have only ever felt electromagnetic repulsion. The entire physical world as you experience it is an elaborate translation, a story your brain tells you so you can function. Perception, not reality. And the terrifying part, there is no way to get past the translation. Every instrument we build to measure reality is also made of atoms that are mostly empty space. We are using the illusion to study the illusion. We are trapped inside a simulation built by our own neurons. And yet the implications go deeper still. Let me pause here because this next part changes the entire picture. We have talked about how you are mostly empty space, but here is a question almost nobody asks. Where does the tiny bit of mass you do have actually come from? Most people assume that protons and neutrons, the particles inside your atomic nuclei, get their mass from the quarks inside them. But that is wrong. Dead wrong. The quarks themselves account for only about 1% of a proton's mass. 99% of your mass has nothing to do with fundamental particles. So where does the rest come from? It comes from energy. Specifically, from the energy of the strong nuclear force that binds quarks together. Einstein's famous equation, E equals mc squared, tells us that energy and mass are interchangeable. The frantic movement of quarks and the gluons binding them generates so much energy that energy manifests as mass. Most of your mass is not matter at all, but pure trapped energy. And then there is the Higgs field, confirmed in 2012 at CERN with the discovery of the Higgs boson. This invisible field permeates all of space, and when certain particles interact with it, they acquire mass. Without the Higgs field, electrons would be massless and would fly away at the speed of light. Atoms could not form. Chemistry would not exist. You would not exist. Your mass, your weight, the very thing that grounds you to Earth, is not a property of solid stuff. It is energy, resistance, and interaction with invisible fields. And the next revelation makes all of this look simple by comparison. Now, what I am about to tell you sounds impossible, but it has been proven. Remember at the beginning when I told you something would keep you up tonight? Here it is. Take every human being currently alive on this planet. 8 billion people. Every body, every brain, every cell, every atom. Now remove all the empty space from every single atom inside every one of those people. Compress only the actual matter, the nuclei, the subatomic particles. Everything that is not void. Sugar cube. The entire human race, all 8 billion of us, would compress into a volume roughly the size of a sugar cube. 8 billion people, 1 cube. This is not science fiction. This is not a thought experiment for entertainment. This is a direct mathematical consequence of atomic structure. The nuclear density of matter is approximately 230 trillion grams per cubic centimeter. At that density, the combined mass of all humans on Earth, roughly 450 million metric tons, fits into about 2 cubic centimeters. A sugar cube. 1. Every war ever fought. 2. Every love story ever told. 3. Every work of art ever created. 4. Every thought ever conceived. All of that carried out by beings whose physical matter could sit in a teaspoon. Everything humanity has ever been fits inside something you stir into your coffee. Comment which fact blew your mind the most. I bet most of you will pick this one. And yet, there is one final piece to this puzzle that ties everything together. So here we are. You now know that you are almost entirely nothing, that you have never truly touched anything, that your mass is mostly trapped energy, that all of humanity could fit in a sugar cube. It sounds nihilistic. It sounds like it should make you feel small, insignificant, almost imaginary. But here is the answer to the question I posed at the very beginning. What holds you together if you are almost entirely empty? We are not physical beings having a spiritual experience. We are fields of energy having a physical experience. The emptiness is not a flaw. It is the design. The empty space inside your atoms is where the fundamental forces of nature operate. Electromagnetism, the strong nuclear force, the weak force, gravity. These forces need that space to do their work. Without the void, there are no forces. Without the forces, there is no structure. Without structure, there is no you. The nothing inside you is what makes everything possible. The universe chose to build everything out of almost nothing. And somehow, from that almost nothing, arose consciousness, awareness, the ability to look at your own atoms and wonder what you are. Nothing became everything. You are not empty. You are a cathedral of forces held in perfect balance, a symphony of energy playing across a stage of void. You are the universe's proof that emptiness and existence are not opposites. They are the same thing. Think about what you have just learned. You walked into this video feeling solid and whole. You are leaving it knowing that you are a cloud of forces dancing across an ocean of emptiness. And yet here you are, thinking, feeling, existing. The sugar cube fact is not a statement about how small we are. It is a statement about how extraordinary the emptiness is. The void inside every atom is not absence. It is potential. It is the canvas on which reality paints itself. You are almost entirely nothing. And that nothing is the most powerful thing in the universe. Every time you feel insignificant, remember this. The forces holding your atoms together are the same forces that hold stars together. The emptiness inside you is the same emptiness that fills the cosmos. You are not separate from the universe. You are the universe, experiencing itself through a body made almost entirely of space. If you made it this far, comment empty cathedral to prove you understood that the void is not the absence of something, but the presence of everything. The cosmos is within us. We are made of star stuff. We are a way for the universe to know itself. The truth is stranger than anything you could make up.